After completing my 10th class exams in 1979, my father suggested that I go and help my father's uncle and learns astrology. Mathematics being my favorite subject, I learned the calculations. My grandfather taught me how to calculate the inclinations of each planet and how to calculate the lagna and the meridian center MC, and he gave me some birth charts to draw. Thus, I learned how to draw the birth charts first and showed interest in predictions. So, my grandfather told me some predictions, some of the tips that he usually uses for predictions. And after learning those tips, I documented some of them. I verified with my father. While my father and my grandfather have laid the foundation for me to get interested in astrology, for almost a decade or 2 decades, I didn't show any interest.
Welcome to Shastrikara's astrological series. This is the presentation about 2025 sidereal ephemeris analysis of the transit planets. In the year 2025, there are two major planets that are going to have an impact. Transit Saturn and Transit Rahu are going to swap their positions. While Saturn is going from Aquarius to Pisces, Rahu will be going in a reverse direction from Pisces to Aquarius. And in my first part, I explained how these two major transit planets are going to have an impact on a person and a country. As an example, I took the birth chart of the United States of America and explained in detail how these transit planets are going to have an impact on United States for the year 2025. In this presentation, this is the second part. In the second part of my presentation, I am going to take the example of the Republic of India birth chart and analyze the transit planets impact on the country. I am hoping that you will like this presentation too. Let me start looking at the birth chart of the Republic of India. And in the birth chart, what you see is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets are co-joined in Cancer. Moon, the lord of the house, Cancer, is co-joined with Saturn, Mercury, Sun and Venus. One thing we have to keep in mind is these natal planets, Saturn and Sun, are co-joined, and Sun, Venus and Mercury are co-joined. So, while Saturn and Sun are the bitter enemies, Venus and Mercury, Sun, all the three planets are in the same house. This is the uniqueness in this chart, is that these are the two uniquenesses in the chart. Number one, Sun, the bitter enemies are together. Number two, the three important planets, Sun, Venus and Mercury, are in the same house. So, now and then the Lagna is Taurus. Yeah, Taurus is the Lagna, where the Lagnadipati is Venus. So, Venus is now in the third house from Rashi Lagna, and in the Lagna, in the first house, Rahu is residing. And now let's go and look at the transit planets for the year 2025. In transit, Saturn will be in Aquarius all the way until April of 2025, which is the 8th house. So, for the past 2 years, transit Saturn is residing in the 8th house, and whatever the country is going through, the problems and the other unexpected events will be continued until April of 2025. And then in the April of 2025, transit Saturn will go to Pisces, and which is the 9th house from Chandra Lagna, and that's a good moderate, I wouldn't say a good house to stay, but a moderate house to stay. Starting October 2024, since the transit Saturn's shadow entered Pisces, the countries will be seeing some sort of the dust getting settled when it comes to all the negative events that are happening in the country. The dust starts settling from October of 2024 until April of 2025, and from there onwards it looks okay. I wouldn't say good, it just looks okay. Now let me go and look at Rahu, transit Rahu. Until June of 2025, transit Rahu will be in the 9th house, Dharmasthanamu, and since Rahu is in the 9th house for the past one year, a lot of events pertaining to dharma or ethics can be seen to have resulted in unexpected events, with sometimes against the dharma, and sometimes it is either through the policies made by the country's leaders or the decisions made by the Supreme Court. So some of the activities that has happened against the dharma which were unexpected is because of Rahu residing in the 9th house from natal moon, and from June onwards it goes to the 8th house. 8th house is not a good house in general, and especially if there is a malefic planet like Saturn and Rahu, or a violent planet like Mars in the 8th house, it is extremely bad. And this is exactly what is going to happen for the country starting June of 2025. And when transit Rahu enters the 8th house, transit Mars will be entering the 2nd house in June and July, which is moderate. But from January, but before June of 2025, transit Mars will be in the 1st house from natal moon. That means transit Mars is co-joining with natal Saturn, natal Sun, natal Mercury and natal Venus. A lot of the 5 planets it is co-joining, transit Mars is co-joining, of which Saturn is the most malefic planet. So things might be a little bit wavy when it comes to the country as a whole, because from Chandra Lagna, that is the 1st house means whole country. And when transit Mars comes to the 2nd house, the issues pertaining to country's wealth, which is the GDP or economy, will be a little bit dynamic. And then comes Jupiter. This is one thing I want to, usually Jupiter is a good planet, benefic planet, but when it is in the 1st house from natal moon, it turns out to be a functional malefic. So from October of 2025 onwards, transit Jupiter will be entering Cancer, thereby it is co-joining with 5 natal planets, of which Saturn is one among them. And whenever there is any relationship between Jupiter and Saturn, it results into disappointments and hurdles. So from October 2025 onwards, that country will be seeing some sort of disappointments or hurdles, which is the first, because it's the 1st house, you cannot exactly say which one, but there are a lot of other areas where it is going to have a look at it. And transit Sun is in the 6th house in Sagittarius until 13th January, then goes to the 7th house from 14th January. So nothing great to worry about transit Sun for the country. Let me talk a little bit in detail about the transit analysis for the Republic of India birth chart from natal moon. All transit planets are looked from natal moon, and let me start with the slow moving planet Saturn. As I said earlier, Saturn will be in the 8th house until April. 8th house for a country, 8th house represents national debt, high death rates of its citizens, and financial relationship with foreign countries. And the country status right now, I don't know exactly more in detail about the country status, but I read in some of the newspapers and watched in some of the news channels that the country is having some financial relationship with foreign countries, some sort of issues related to the finances, and yes, there are some sort of a national debt issues in the country for the past 2 years, and that will be continued all the way till April of 2025. That's because Saturn is in the 8th house. And somewhere in April of 2025, Saturn will move to the 9th house, and it will stay there until the end of the year. Of course, it stays even in 2026, but right now let's look at its position until end of year. And the 9th house represents academic institutions, religion and religious influences on the public, because 9th house is Dharmasthanamu. So the Dharmasthanamu is also considered to be maintained through academic institutions. That was in the olden, during the olden Indian culture and traditions. So the Vedic astrology still continues the same concept. So the transit Saturn, once it enters the ninth house, that is the Pisces, somewhere in April, it's going to co-join with transit Rahu for just 2 months, April, May, 2 months. So those are the 2 months, I would say. April and May are the 2 months where the country will be uh, noticing unexpected events relating to academic institutions, some sort of major policy changes in academic institutions. That's the one possibility. The second possibility is events relating to religious activities, because and maybe some sort of a policy changes pertaining to religion made by the leaders, or policy changes pertaining to some sort of a religious beliefs from a Supreme Court. Something unexpected is sure to happen in the month of April and May of 2025. That's it. And then Rahu will be in the ninth house until June. That means April and May it's co-joining with transit Saturn, and then in June it going to come to eighth house. Remember, eighth house is represents national debt, high death rates of its citizens, and financial relations with foreign countries. When transit Saturn is in the eighth house, for the past 2 years it has already created some sort of a financial disturbances in financial relationship with other countries with respect to India, and that has resulted in some sort of an increase in national debt. With Rahu entering the 8th house in June of 2025, there will be some more unexpected events that results into increase in national debt, and the financial relationship there will be some sort of a chaos in the financial relationship between India and other foreign countries. That's exactly what we have to wait and see. Let me continue with the other transit planets. First of all, like I said earlier, the next after Saturn and Rahu, the next transit planet that I look is the transit Mars. Transit Mars is going to enter Leo in June and July of 2025. That means April and May, those 2 months it is going to be in Cancer. Remember, in April and May, transit Saturn and transit Rahu are going to be co-joined in Pisces. Now transit Mars will be in Cancer, where it is co-joining with 5 important natal planets: Moon, Saturn, Sun, Mercury, and Venus. Venus is the Lagnadipati, the first house lord, that is the self, about the country itself. And the co-joining of Saturn and Mars, because Saturn is a malefic planet, Mars is a violent planet, they both of them co-joining is not a good sign. And especially Saturn, any malefic planet that's in the first house from natal moon is always considered to be a bad sign. And now we have transit Mars coming in April and May, co-joining with all these 5 natal planets. It's not a good sign. So now the question comes is, what could be the impact? The seventh transit Mars, seventh aspect is on the seventh house, and but the eighth aspect will be on transit March Saturn, transit at Saturn. When it is in Cancer, the eighth aspect is on transit Saturn, because April, May, yeah, that's right, no need to worry. April it goes back to pieces. Mars transit Saturn goes to pieces, my mistake. So when transit Mars is in Cancer, we don't need to worry about anything. In June and July, when transit Mars enters Leo, that's where we have to be a little bit cautious, because first of all, it is in the second house from natal moon. Second house deals with national wealth. That means the nation's economy, nation's GDP, one of those things. And for a country, the wealth is through banking sector, uh, then stock market or bond market. So there will be some sort of a disturbance in those three, either the banking sector, the stock market or a bond market, resulting in decline of nation's wealth. And now when transit Saturn enters Leo in June, its seventh aspect will be on transit Rahu, and then that is from the second house, it is looking at the eighth house, which is transit, where transit Rahu just entered. So the violent planet is looking at an unexpected malefic planet Rahu. So you can expect, and that too in the eighth house. So one can expect what unexpected things can happen for the country. And at the same time, transit Mars 8th aspect is on the ninth house. Ninth house is Dharmasthanamo, where transit Saturn will be there. As I said earlier, the ninth house deals with Dharmasthanamo, which is the religious, related to religion in the country. So this transit Mars as eighth aspect on transit Saturn in the ninth house is something else that we need to look at it, especially when it comes to some sort of a religious events or any policies that have a direct impact on a particular religion, because India is a secular country. So naturally, if there is any issue in one particular religion, it has to make sure that all other religions are equally treated. So there will be some sort of a disturbance pertaining to religious activities in the month of June and July. And the next thing I want to talk about is the Jupiter. Generally speaking, Jupiter is a benefic planet, so that's how people look at it. But transit Jupiter, the position of transit Jupiter is very important. Even though it is a benefic planet, if it is placed in a wrong house, then it becomes a functional malefic. And any planet that is in the first house from natal moon is also considered to be bad. In general, its first house represents the whole country, so there won't be any major impact to worry about. But any good things that are supposed to happen, this is from October of 2025 when Jupiter enters Cancer, any good things that is supposed to happen might, the amount of the good thing will be diminished. So since the country is say from April till July, since the country is going through a lot of disturbances and unexpected events happening and faced unexpected events, probably from by October, when Jupiter enters Cancer, the dust gets settled. The only disadvantage of transit Jupiter in Cancer from October is it co-joins with 5 natal planets, of which Saturn is one among them. There is a general rule that states whenever Saturn and Jupiter are co-joined, because they are two big planets, it results into disappointments and hurdles. So when all the events that happen that might happen in the country from April through July, August is the only 1 month where it keeps quiet, but in September, August and September, the dust should get settled, so that by October things will be coming to a normal pace. And hopefully the results, even though they are disappointing and even though there are a lot of hurdles that the country has faced, hopefully things get settled by then. Thank you for watching my video. This is the 2025 sidereal ephemeris analysis, and I just gave one example, that is the country of the United States of America, how to analyze based upon the transit planets, how to analyze a chart from natal moon. And I am hoping that you like this video. Please feel free to contact me if you need any suggestions from an astrological perspective. If you have any queries, feel free to contact to my email address. And if you are interested to get in your personal chart analyzed for the year 2025, visit my website karraastrology.com and complete the contact form, and then I will approach you and further details. Thank you very much. Have a good day.